Good afternoon. I'm joining you from Kampala. But as you said, I'm a Kenyan. I teach at the Department of Economics of the University of Nairobi. My areas of interest are mainly international trade. Just allow me to share my screen, please. So once again, welcome to this session. I'll mainly be talking about issues of market access in the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is just abbreviated as AfCFTA. Here is my email address. I'll be very, very happy if there are any follow-up questions that cannot be answered through this session or any further discussion. Please feel free to contact me on this email address. So I'll shortly just begin by explaining what exactly is the African Continental Free Trade Area and briefly giving how exactly has the journey been. So African integration is actually alive, and this agreement intends to actually connect the entire Africa, all these African countries, to form one free trade agreement. But then this initiative has not been very easy. The push towards having this kind of integration started in 1963, but then there are several initiatives that have been there which have not actually succeeded to do it. For instance, the Monrovia Conference of 1979, a lot of these treaties that are there, for instance, the Abuja Treaty, the ones in Lagos in 1980, not all of them were actually managed to put together the entire continent until something happened in Kigali in 2018 when presidents and leaders of our respective countries in Africa agreed to form the African Continental Free Trade Area. So in brief, this journey of the African Continental Free Trade Area started with the launch of the negotiations in June of 2015, then the start of those negotiations in 2016. But then in 2018 is when we saw a major step where 44 countries signed the agreement. And there have been several progress in terms of now making the African Continental Free Trade Area active. So far, we have about 54 countries which have signed in Africa, which I think is all the countries, out of which 46 of them have actually had ratified the agreement as at last month. So to just understand the agreement, this agreement is in two phases. So we have a phase one and a phase two. But as you can see here, the phase one entails some protocols, or rather some things which are very, very key to understand when you talk about trading goods, trading services at the same time, and then also a protocol on the rules and procedures for the settlements of disputes. As you know, as people trade, definitely there will be some disagreements or some things which some areas of disagreements that might arise, meaning we will need some forms of dispute settlement. Phase two is about the protocol of competition policy, then protocol on investment, and then also intellectual property rights. If you are inventing something as a social enterprise, then how do we actually secure your invention? That comes under phase two. So far, operationalization of phase one is actually underway, this first part, and then some protocols under phase two have actually been agreed upon. For instance, that one on investment, the protocol on intellectual property rights, and also competition policy, which were agreed upon around mid-February this year. Then trading under the African Continental Free Trade Area was formally launched on the January of 2021, but actual trade started in October 2022 under what is called a guided trade initiative, where a few countries were identified as more of a pilot phase, and then a few farms were also identified to be taken into this pilot phase. So this is a guided trade initiative. From next year, they tend to still increase the number of participants in terms of the farms and also in terms of the countries. The ASEWTF Secretariat actually sits in Accra, Ghana. So with all this information, we've known what exactly is the African Continental Free Trade Area, where has it come from. So ideally, the existence of a large market of about 1.4 billion people and $2.7 trillion in terms of GDP, that as of 2021, offers a large opportunity for your enterprise to trade under the African Free Trade Area. So the question is, how do you access the market? And for you to access this market, it's better that you now understand three key things. Number one, are you aware? Number two, do you know the opportunities that are there? Number three, how do you then tackle your challenges? Definitely, there might be some challenges here and there. How do you tackle those challenges? So let's start with awareness. I don't know whether it will be surprising to you or not, but a good number of businesses in Africa are not aware of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Yet, awareness is actually essential in both preparing for the potential threats and maximizing the potential benefits of the African Continental Free Trade Area. So before you access the market, are you really aware? For instance, 67% of MSMEs in Nigeria are actually unaware of this agreement. 52% of businesses in Kenya are unaware of the agreement, and 52% of Ghanaian MSMEs are actually unaware. This is according to research that has been conducted by several people, including me and some of my friends on Kenya. So then the question is, how do you actually become aware of this agreement for you to think of actually accessing the markets? Number one, I'm just using some survey which I conducted with my friends on Kenya. 63% of the businesses reported that business associations offer the best opportunity to actually be aware of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Number two, presence on social media, which is quite key. This is the Facebooks and the Twitters. A good number of people actually, businesses actually need to move to social media if you don't have it there. Of course, local, national, and also international news are also part of the sources. And then governments now also organize seminars and trainings, which will be good for you to attend, because it's only through that you now understand what exactly are some of the benefits that you think you might benefit from, which markets are better for you, and those kinds of information. The other thing is, once you are aware, then how do you identify the opportunities for you to actually access the market? So here I would like to use some survey whereby the World Economic Forum and the International Trade Center have identified around 4 industries that bear the greatest opportunities once this agreement actually becomes operational. These 4 industries are the automotive sector, agriculture and processing, pharmaceuticals, transport and logistics. As for the automotive sector, as you can see here, this entails sectors that deal with, for instance, assembly of cars and motor vehicles and whatever. So this is projected to grow because of the anticipated rise in domestic demand in cars and purely vehicles and whatever. We also anticipate a rise in income, meaning there's a rise in demand that will come with it. And then also as trade increases, then we will actually need a lot of this sector to be there to really serve us. The agro-processing sector, or rather the agricultural sector, first of all, agriculture has one of the key, most of African countries have a comparative advantage in agriculture. So by boosting this sector, for instance, if you are a social enterprise, which idea is in the agro-processing, but then you are more interested in, for instance, reducing the gender inequality, then this is one of the sectors that really bears a great potential of doing that. If you are a social enterprise, which is in the area of reducing food insecurity, this is one of the key areas that actually agriculture offers a great opportunity for it, and also creation of jobs. The pharmaceutical sector is also poised to strengthen the continent's vulnerable health supply chain. As you remember, during COVID, most African countries were actually at the mercies of developed countries because of the vaccine And this means that this is one of the sectors that as you're a social enterprise, you might be thinking of. And then, of course, the transport and logistics, which are expected to enable trade through all means of transport, either by road, sea, or air. So, but then, how do you then identify some of these opportunities? The International Trade Center has created what is called an export potential map, which is very, very nice. All you need is just to access the website, and then you should be able to know, for instance, if you're exporting from Nigeria to Ghana, which commodities seem to have more opportunities, or rather, if you say I want to export to East Africa, and if you are in Nigeria, then it will tell you for this specific product, here is where the potential lies, and it will also give you in terms of the supply and the demand potential, which is quite good, which this information can be accessed through this website here. So then the other thing is, as you access the market, it's good to understand what exactly are some of the challenges that are there. So I guess, like any business, you expect to have some challenges, or you're already facing some challenges. So this table here shows some top 5 challenges for businesses in Kenya for a survey that I conducted with some of my colleagues here. So the largest, of course, was taxes and tariffs, which we expect that formation of African Continental Free Trade Area will actually reduce this challenge. And then the other thing is especially access to credit and access also to new markets. And then, of course, some issues around corruption and then high cost of raw materials. Of course, we also have challenges such as roads in some countries, maybe insecurity, those kinds of issues. And then you can see that some of these affects also how they are moving across the farms. So a lot of these challenges are can actually be classified mostly as access to credit and also trade facilitation, because this is what hinders how you access the market. But then especially this aspect of access to credit is also one of the things I would like to hear what your experiences that you say here before you access the market. How hard or how easy is it to access the finances for you to get into a market? So as I almost come to the end, it's also good to now say, still in tackling these challenges, what are some of the solutions that are there? So as I've said, the challenges in market access are either the aspect of tariffs that I'm confident will be handled by under the African Continental Free Trade Area, but then the taxes or the tariffs that you are supposed to pay might be low, but then you still have a challenge, for instance, access to credit for you to start trading. How do you go about that? So I'll be happy to have an idea as we go into the when we read the question and answer question here. What are some of the major challenges that you face for your enterprise, and what's your experience in accessing credit facilities from financial institutions? But then ultimately, on a positive note, businesses are actually very optimistic of this agreement. Number one, people expect that they should be actually be able to access new markets, meaning you only need to now work hard to address the challenges that you face. Businesses also expect that the agreement will actually enlarge the market access, and then of course the other benefits that will come with it, such as access to cheap labor, access to possibly cheap inputs or raw materials, and then possibly access to new technology. At that point, I would like to thank you for listening to me, and I look forward to your questions and discussions.